Hello there, my name is Jeff, and welcome to episode 68 of the Game Sharks podcast, where we talk about our favorite thing in the world, New Girl. That's a TV show I've been watching lately. I like that show. Any of you ever watch New Girl?
I've seen some of it. It's pretty funny.
It is
I've seen
my list.
Yeah, I think I've seen the first season like 6 times.
Why?
Because like every time I watch it, I start it over from the beginning, and then never get anywhere with it.
It's pretty good. I like the comedy formula they have of just all of the roommates screaming at each other over nonsensical things.
Yeah,
Like
they have
us.
pretty good chemistry with
Kinda
the
like
cast.
Yeah, they do a good job. Apparently, according to Allison, they ad-lib a lot of that and just I was gonna say free ball. That is not the right term. They
Improvise.
they
Improvise.
Yeah, they improvise all of it. So there's a lot of really good bloopers out there of them just feeling it out. And video games. Joining me this week is Adam,
Hello.
Derek,
Whoa.
and Andrew.
My favorite blooper reel of all time is Abed Batman from Community.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good one.
Are you my uncle?
All right. We have a great episode for you this week. We are in part 2 of our 4-part series. I think someone just started a jet engine outside my house. Sorry. I thought a video was playing on my headset. It sounded like the beginning of like a Resident Evil thing where it was like boom, but it's just a car. It's really loud.
The classic game. Did I hear that in real life or on my computer?
Part 2 of our 4-part series where we're talking about the top 10 games of each decade. Today is 90's week, so everyone get hyped for 90's week here on the Game Sharks podcast. We're going to talk about what we've been playing, but let's start with some news. We are fresh off the heels of watching the Resident Evil Village, or it's just the Resident Evil Showcase. Let's see, what announcements did we get? They showed us more Resident Evil Village, which it's another one of those things where that game is, you said 3 weeks out. I don't need to see more. Just let me play the game. There is a demo coming where you can play for an hour. You can choose to play in the castle or in the village. And there is an 8-hour window where you can play this demo, which seems like a really weird thing to do.
No, that was the other demo.
I thought that was
There's a demo coming out one's coming out May 1st. That's the 1-hour demo.
Okay.
And then there's another demo coming out. I think the date's it's either this weekend or next week. That's the one that there's only an 8-hour window and you can play for 30 minutes. It was very confusing.
Yeah, that is very confusing. I don't know why they do that.
Jumped from one right to the other.
And you said it was May 1st? That's 6 days before the game comes out.
Yeah, the 1-hour one comes out May 1st.
Just wait for your game. How much hype do you need to build?
Yeah, I don't know. Weird choice.
Yeah, it's weird, but
let's see. They showed us a trailer of Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, which is the Netflix show that's coming that stars Leon and Claire. We found out that it takes place 6 years after
2 years.
2006. 2006, that's right. 2 years after Resident Evil 4 takes place. So the president is still Ashley Graham's father. Hopefully we see an Ashley Graham appearance. That'd be really fun. So they said that's just coming later this year. I don't think they gave a specific time.
July
frame, right?
2021.
Oh, that has a date? Okay. And then they said they are in post-production for the live-action movie that they're doing. They're working on all the CGI for that.
Ooh.
And then the only other really big thing... Oh, they showed off a bunch of Mercenaries mode for 8, which could be a fun multiplayer mode, like extend the game past just playing the campaign.
Well, I don't think it was multiplayer.
yeah, I don't think it's multiplayer.
I thought the newer Mercenary modes you can do with more than one person.
They didn't
showed in the
specifically say
trailer.
for this one though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure historically in the last couple you've been able to do it with multiple people. But I just assumed that. And then lastly, something weird happened. So myself and Derek were watching on the Sony YouTube stream, and Andrew was watching it on the IGN YouTube stream. And all of a sudden, Andrew starts popping off about this Resident Evil 4 thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? The screen literally says pre-order now, and it's over. Apparently, for some reason, they didn't show this on the Sony stream, but on the IGN stream, they are making a fully first-person VR remake of Resident Evil 4, exclusive to the Oculus Quest 2, which is a little sad to me because I only have the original Oculus Quest, and it's not worth upgrading to play just that game. But yeah, that's kind of really cool. It's one of
It's
those
not
things.
the Resident Evil 4 remake that we were expecting,
No, so
but
that's
it's
was
pretty
gonna-
cool nonetheless.
that was gonna be my question to you guys. Is this like the thing we were hearing rumors about, and like there is no other Resident Evil 4 like full on remake happening, or do you think
I
that's
think
still
so.
happening in the background?
I
I
think
have a
so.
feeling it's still happening.
Really, I don't think that they would make two versions of the same game and not release them alongside each other. So like if they make the full Resident Evil 4 remake, is it going to be the third person over the shoulder, or is it going to be the same as this, just on, not in VR?
No, it would be because this is like the VR one is just old Resident Evil 4. There's no uprising or anything. Whereas like the rumors for the Resident Evil 4 remake is going to be of the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake caliber, where it's like fully redone.
I hope so. I hope that version still is coming, but
Yeah.
I personally, after this, I don't have high hopes.
Yeah, there's no way of knowing. To me it's a coin flip, a total toss up on whether it's still going to happen or not. None of you have an Oculus Quest 2, right?
Nope.
Yeah. So none of us will experience this. All right. Let's move on to another piece of news. Andrew, you added this. This is going to be a real quick topic. We have a couple quick topics in a row. Something about a Sonic Colors remastered. One, what is Sonic Colors? And two, why is it being remastered? Is it real?
Yeah, it basically, classic, like, oh, this website got updated with a file for a certain game, and so this one comes from a German dubbing studio, and apparently on its official site it listed Sonic Colors Remastered. Sonic Colors is the only good Sonic game that's come out in the last 7 years.
I thought Mania
so-
was good.
Besides that one,
3D Sonic,
yeah, 3D Sonic.
which I think you could say none of the 3D Sonics are good ever,
Except for this one. Sonic
except
Colors
for I
is a
guess
good game.
maybe Sonic Colors.
So it's very interesting. If this is real, it's pretty interesting that instead of making a good Sonic 3D game, they just remastered the only good one. So that's it. There's nothing really to talk about here. If it exists, it exists. Sonic Colors, I don't think needed to be remastered.
Yeah.
But if you get one of the better Sonic games of recent memory into the hands of more gamers, then that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So I have a list here of the patch notes for the first PS5 update that we've gotten. So we have some storage, expansion, and management. You can store PS5 games on external USB drives now, which is a nice
yes.
little handy feature.
I did see that.
Yep.
It's pretty neat.
So now there are also some new social features that we can do. You can cross-generation share play. So you can use the share play feature across PS4 and PS5 now. This means PS5 consoles users can let their friends on PS4 consoles view their game screen and even try out PS5 games through the share play. Has anyone ever used the share play function?
Not on PS5.
Okay.
But I did stream. I think sometime in March of last year, we played. I tried to play Persona 5 Royal through that, and it was a pretty weird experience. So I don't know how much better it is on PS5, but I don't think I'm gonna figure it out.
Let's see. You can now request to join a game session, which is similar to it's the opposite of inviting someone, obviously. Enhanced control and personalization options for PS5 consoles. They improved the game base. So the game base menu has been improved for quicker access to important content and features. You can now easily switch between parties and friends to start chatting with your existing parties to see what each of your online friend is up to. You can disable game chat and adjust individual players' volumes. Game update pre-download. You can customize your game library, which is cool.
That's very cool. I will probably take a look at that.
Yeah, that'll be very, very helpful for sure. There's a screen zoom, so like what's the word I'm looking for? You can zoom your
So
screen. And it's
for like
Picture in
accessibility.
picture?
Accessibility. That was the word I was looking for. It's
yeah.
an accessibility feature. And then new trophy setting and stats screen. The level of trophies that result in automatic capture of screenshot and video clip can now be customized. So I don't know if you know this, but every time you unlock a trophy, the system automatically recorded the last, is it
Yeah.
30
Thank
seconds?
God.
There was a lot. Did you see all of the clips from people getting trophies in Demon Souls and people being like, "Yeah, fuck you," to the boss?
Yeah, because it
So
records
funny.
you through your
It
controller
records
too.
your voice and everything.
Yeah.
That's a weird feature to have just automatically turned on and not tell people. But yeah. So
A lot of these changes feel like they should have been in the system from launch, but I think it's a lesser transgression on this front because the PS5 was already like a good console at launch.
Yeah.
Right. Like at a base level, it functioned the way it needed to and had pretty good, mechanics and systems overall. But like all of this stuff feels like why didn't they think of this before?
yeah.
So
Is my thing.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And
Because this happened with the PS4 too, right? They added a lot of
Yeah.
features after the fact.
I think the hugest difference, if we think back to like the 360 PS3 era, is there's a lot of changes in how software development and hardware development like happens. And like a big thing now is companies deliver the minimum viable product. Like when something is made, like software, like hardware like that, they just make what the minimum they have to make to be able to satisfy customers at the get-go. And then anything that isn't, like, all this stuff was probably in their development, and they were like, all right, if we do this, will it push us past November 21st? Yes. Okay, put it in the backlog. We'll get it out in another update. Like that's basically, I feel like that's what we're seeing more and more in the games industry now, is games being delivered as a minimum viable product, and then features
Cyberpunk.
after. Yeah, Cyberpunk. Like, I think for systems it's okay, but for games is where it gets kind of sketchy.
Yeah, games is a whole nother thing, and
Yeah.
we've obviously talked to death about it. But with the PS5, it's like like I said, it's like this stuff is all really cool and nice, but it feels like it should have been there already. But the PS5 was already good, so it's kind of a whatever situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see these small quality of life updates. Like
Absolutely.
the PlayStation's been
Better
out
better
for,
late than never.
Yeah, the PlayStation 5's been out for 6 months, and they're already doing these nice little small things. Where the Switch has been out for
3-4 years.
4 years, and we still can't organize our games.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So you got to give Sony some credit that they're actually doing these small adjustments that over time will amount to like a very different experience from
Nintendo is
the
also
launch.
15 years behind every other developer, so
It's true. So yeah, pretty cool. Even though it's a small set of small things, it's still cool to see. Who is ready for the LOLCU, the League of Legends Cinematic Universe?
Let's do it.
Because it's happening. So apparently Riot has already begun recruiting staff for its live-action League of Legends Cinematic Universe.
Oh, live action. Ooh.
Yep. So there's 2 new roles on the Riot Games career page: Global Head of Live Action TV and Global Head of Live Action Film. So very obviously, like, they're looking to start making live action things. I'm sure we'll get Netflix partnerships, whatnot.
Yeah, because I know they were doing animated stuff, but like the live action is actually a bit of a surprise.
yeah.
I thought they'd stick to animation for a little bit because it's a little closer to home for them currently.
Yeah, it makes sense. We did just get that animated Dota show that people seem to really like. So
I
I don't
saw
know
it.
if they're like, all right, well, we're gonna one up Dota again.
Live action.
So yeah, I think this could be really cool. I'm excited about.
I hope
I
so.
think the League of Legends world is really cool. And there's like a lot of stories to be told, a lot of different regions. It's kind of like Star Wars, where it's like this world of like different biomes and whatnot, where you have the Shadow Isles, which are all like spooky ghost things, and then you have Demacia, which is like the army and like the war.
Like honor and justice.
Yeah, and then you have Zon, which is like experiments gone wrong. Yeah, and Piltover, which is like technology used to better humans. And so like
And then Shurima, which is desert.
so yeah, there's a
But
lot of
also
really
gods.
cool different things where they could
Yeah, there's that.
and they have 160 characters now. There are more
They're in the 150s.
there are more league champions than original Kanto Pokemon.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
Jesus.
Uh,
Yeah.
The League of Legends lore has always been super interesting to me, but I never in my life have wanted to take the time to read any of their lore stories.
Yeah.
So I think that if they explore that in film, it'll be a much easier way for myself and a lot of aspiring League of Legends fans, to get into that.
Like,
So I just hope that they don't go over their head with it, because I think
Mm.
Riot has a history sometimes of biting off more than they can chew. So I just want them to take their time, not rush it out. It seems like this is very early on.
Oh yeah, this is
So-
super early. We won't see this
so
for
like 10
several
years.
Yeah,
But it would be super cool.
yeah, I agree.
They should get Daisuke Tsuji to play Yasuo.
So we had an indie direct yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, they showed over 20 indie games, and I think most of them are not worth talking about. There wasn't anything of super no. I think what we can do is if there is a game individually that you want to talk about, we can bring it up here. One that there's a couple that I want to bring up first. The Longing.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is the
yes.
game that takes 400 days to play, real world time.
Yes.
That's what it says, but I feel like there's got to be some kind of other mechanic that we obviously don't know about. Well, I mean the game's out, so
Yeah.
people might be able to tell you about now.
So-
where you like time speeds up.
So they said the game is played in real time, but you won't have to play every day to see the ending.
Yeah, like
and
once
it's like
you
a puzzle
start.
/ activity game. That's how they
Yeah.
describe it.
Well, people have been playing Animal Crossing for 400 days, so
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like part of me wanted to pick this up and just see what the fuck it is, but I didn't do it. So maybe I will in the next week. I feel like if I don't do it in the next week, I'm not doing it at all.
I was tempted because it looks. It's an interesting concept of, hey, start this game, but you're about a little tiny shade dude whose king is like, hey, I'm gonna go take a nap for 400 days to regain my power. You hold down the fort, and then you're just stuck alone in this underground kingdom.
Yeah.
So here's what you
And-
do: buy it, play for 30 minutes, never touch it again. 400 days later, see what happens.
Oh, that's the thing. You don't
Oh,
have to
it's a
actively
social
be playing.
experiment.
Well, supposedly, depending on what you do with your 400 days, you get different endings.
Interesting.
Because like you can, have the shade like tidy up his living space. You can go explore things. There's gonna be time-based puzzles. I'm assuming that means like, hey, come back around noon for this puzzle to, open it. This door will only open at like this particular time of day, so come back
Yeah.
later.
Or maybe it's more like, okay, this puzzle only exists from days 350 to 330,
Mhm.
And like if you don't
Maybe
do it
more
in
like-
that time frame, it doesn't exist anymore.
Or maybe like, oh, to complete this quest, you need to grow this flower. Come back in 30 days. Like
Yeah.
it's an interesting
It's a
idea.
super cool concept, and I think I might do it. How much is it? What's the game
It's
called?
$15. It's
15?
called The Longing. It's $15 on Switch.
I might do
I'm
it.
I'm thinking about it.
It's just such a weird, cool concept.
Yeah.
We got some more footage of TMNT Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
Confirmed coming to
Yeah,
Switch.
that looks cool.
Coming to Switch, coming this year. Very excited about that. We're definitely gonna play that.
Absolutely.
And then the only other one that really caught my eye was at the very end. We got an announcement for a sequel to Oxenfree. We're getting Oxenfree 2: Lost Signals. I don't know if any of you
Mhm.
played Oxenfree.
Nope.
Did not.
I thought it was a real cool game. Allison played it
think
and
I-
liked it too.
I think I own it, but
I
I've never played it.
I played it when I had the flu in February of 2019, or I don't know if it was the flu. I was super sick, and I remember just sitting in bed and beating it in like 2 sittings. It's
Yeah,
a really
it's
cool
not
game.
a very long game.
So those are the things I'm excited the most about it. Was there anything else that caught any of your eyes in the indie showcase? It's
I
like
didn't-
this was really indie, like a lot of stuff
Yeah.
you'll
I
never
didn't
hear
ag-
of again.
I didn't get a chance to actually watch it, but from what I can see, nothing really catches my eye. Maybe the only one, and only based on name recognition, is Skull the Hero Slayer.
I was gonna say, do you recognize the name of that game? Because it looks like a Hollow Knight game. If you
Yeah.
watch the trailer, it looks very Hollow Knight.
Yeah, he
So,
definitely took a lot of inspiration from things like Hollow Knight, it looks like.
I thought that game was already out.
Is it?
'Cause
Maybe
I-
did they just announce that it's coming to Switch?
I thought it was already out on Switch.
Definitely
Evidently
not.
not.
I don't know who I was watching. I thought I watched someone play it on Switch. Like, I'm pretty sure. Did I watch? I thought I watched.
No, it came out in January this year.
On Switch?
No,
Oh, just
No,
in general.
on PC. It must have been on PC then.
yeah,
That I was watching.
that's why I recognized it then.
Yeah.
So yeah,
84% on Open
Yeah.
Critic.
not bad.
I liked Aztec. Fallen of Gods.
Forgotten Gods.
Forgotten
Yeah,
Gods. I
that
thought
looked
it looked
interesting.
pretty cool
Hmm.
for an indie game. And then whatever the first game was, Route, was it like Route 99 or
Road 96.
Road 96?
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty cool. I like those. It reminded me a lot of like Firewatch for
Okay.
some reason.
Yep.
But more of a game.
Yeah.
Like the art style, I guess, maybe of Firewatch.
Hmm.
I might
Okay.
pick that. I might pick that one up. That looked pretty cool.
I think I'm gonna pick up The Longing.
Do it.
I'm just so curious. It
Do
seems
it.
so fucking weird. I'll download it during the break so I can play it a little bit tonight. All right. If no one has anything else they want to talk about, let's talk about the last piece of news for the week. Jason Schreier at it again.
Breaking hearts.
He posted a new article on Bloomberg titled "Sony's obsession with blockbusters is stirring unrest within PlayStation Empire." Basically, the summary of this is that Sony isn't really willing to back and fund some of their smaller studios because they seem to be so obsessed with putting out the blockbuster games like God of War, like The Last of Us, that they don't. It's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Derek, where it's like there's a minimum profit level, and if they don't, was that? Did you bring that up earlier, or were you talking
Minimum
about it with
viable product.
Yeah.
Very kind of different.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very different. Anyways, it seems like there's people at the top who aren't thinking about the games as art as much as like some other, like Xbox is willing to like invest money in indie companies and like smaller games, whereas Sony's like, if this will not make us $50 million, it's not worth our time or money. Even if it is successful to some degree, they're not willing to put money in it unless it's going to be like raking in cash for them. That kind of is the general idea of this article.
Yeah, at a certain point, you can't even guarantee that. So it just sounds like they're very unwilling to take a risk. Like they want to stick to those franchises that they know are going to be well.
Yeah.
It's not even risks either, because from the examples used in Jason's article, Days Gone, I believe, was pretty rocky at launch, but ended up turning into something good. But it's exactly like you said, Jeff. They're not seeing it as art. They're doing it purely for profit.
Yeah.
And so they don't care if you make something that has a dedicated fan base that will eventually be good. They just want it to see immediate results, which sucks. But a lot of people have reacted very negatively to this article and to Jason in particular. And I guess this is a trend where people are shooting the messenger and basically shit talking Jason Schreier for being the one to break the news on subjects that people don't agree with, right? So apparently it happened before with I don't remember the example. I think with the original No Man's Sky news or something. But with this, the example that he uses is that Sony rejected the pitch for Days Gone 2.
Mm-hmm. Because they thought while Days Gone was profitable, it didn't make them as much money as they wanted.
Exactly. So a lot of people who are fans of Days Gone got up in arms because Jason deconfirmed, quote unquote, Days Gone 2, which is not at all what he said. He said that there was a pitch for Days Gone 2 and it got rejected. So that's not to say a Days Gone sequel isn't still in the works somewhere. It's just that for this particular topic, a pitch was rejected.
Yeah.
So I had a weird feeling about this article.
In what way?
I found it very like clickbaity.
Okay.
It
I
seemed
can
like
see that.
like one, I don't know, a lot of it talked about what like the visual arts design team, right? That was
Mhm.
like a team specifically built uh
They were built as
to
like a supporting team to their major studios.
right, and then they pitched an idea and were maybe gonna be able to work on it, and then they decided to not let them work on it.
Hmm.
And then the whole thing, I don't know, I feel like the whole thing with like Days Gone 2 is like, just because they like, I feel like everyone assumes quickly like that they're like, oh well, like they don't care, they just want the money, right?
Yeah.
But I don't like, who know, we don't know what goes on internally there. We don't know what the original pitch for Days Gone 1 was like. Maybe they didn't like the pitch for Days Gone 1, but they said like the team was like, "No, let us do this. We promise it'll be really good." And then it wasn't that great. And they came with the pitch for Days Gone 2 and they're like, "Look, this doesn't sound good." Like people I the problem with Days Gone that I, at least from what I like, people liked the game. People that played the game seemed to enjoy it. But it's in a genre that seems to be beaten to death, right? Like they have like everyone was like, it's just another zombie game. Like there's still all this buzz around Days Gone. Like, isn't it just another stupid zombie game that we've already played 1,000 times? So I can see why like the Sony execs would see like, look, this genre is played to death. We don't want to spend any more money. Like we have The Last of Us, which kind of like sits in that like zombie world. Like we don't need more of this. So maybe that, like, I think it's silly. Like obviously I think there's some other things that it's like, why are they doing a remake of The Last of Us?
That's
And
a
that's
whole
the other
separate
big part
thing.
of this article.
That's
But
the
then
whole second half
also-
of the article.
What is the remake? Is it an actual physical remake, or is it just an like another remaster from like to up to PS5 standards? Like
My guess is that's what it is, because
Right.
I don't
So
hold
on.
understand.
Before we get into all the stuff about The Last of Us, because I feel like that is a whole separate
Yeah,
conversation.
that's kind of its
I
own
want to
conversation.
finish the conversation we're having about like Sony not supporting smaller studios and smaller games.
And I think that the Last of Us remake news being broken further drives the point Jason is trying to make, in that why the hell are they focusing time and resources and manpower into a Last of Us remake, a game which does not need to be remade?
Yeah, a 2013 game that holds up very well.
One of the best games of the last decade, especially, instead of working on new ideas, new IP, because one of the things that Sony has always done that's rivaled the likes of Nintendo is having these super colorful, unique IP, and like just
Yeah.
Nope, complete brain fart. Sorry.
All right, I'll take over.
Take over.
It seems to me like Sony is starting to fall into the Disney Marvel Star Wars trap, where it's like, play it safe, do the thing that we know is going to make a lot of money, but people are like going to be like, yeah, that was okay, but like, it satisfied that itch. And it's like, it seems like they're not taking any risks anymore. I feel like we had the glory days of the PS4 where we got Horizon, we got the God of War remake, and it's like all these really cool, new, interesting things. They made the
Even
first
at the end
crazy
with Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. We got like the first cool Spider-Man game in a long time, and like everything that we know about so far is God of War sequel, Horizon sequel. There isn't a lot of like new, interesting Sony smaller things that Sony's putting their money into.
When you look at their studios that they own now, like it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's like those studios, like Santa Monica, they want to make another God. Like they've revitalized this genre.
Mm-hmm.
They've changed it in a different way. They want to keep doing it. Guerrilla has developed. What did Guerrilla make before Horizon Zero Dawn? They made Killzone. How many people are like, is Killzone a beloved game series? None.
Yeah,
That's the thing, is they've like, they've had these few studios that have now created like these beloved IPs that people really, really, really liked last generation, and they want to take care. Like usually, when a new IP game came out, think about like when Sucker Punch did Infamous, when like you got 3 games in a generation. We got 1 game from Santa Monica Studios last gen. We got 1 game from Guerrilla. We got
And those games
3
are
2
blockbusters.
games. Yeah, 2 games from Naughty Dog. Like
What I think is the difference, Infamous is smaller scale by comparison, as opposed to the likes of Horizon and God of War.
I mean, but not really. It's just like I don't know. I wouldn't say that Ghost of Tsushima is larger in scale than Infamous Second Son, which was a launch title for the PS4. Like they're different projects, but like I wouldn't say one's a blockbuster and one wasn't. I think the reason the Infamous game was made was because the first 2 Infamous games were very successful, and they were like, all right, let's make a third one. But like, who knows? I don't think there's not a 4th Infamous game because the game didn't sell as well, the reception was as good. I think that Sony is willing to give their studios a degree of freedom when they've proved they're able to develop quality games. Like I don't know if you know the track record of Bend Studios, but they just make ports, and they made Siphon Filter. Do you guys ever play Siphon Filter?
Never.
Do you have any idea what Siphon Filter is? Exactly. So, Days Gone was Bend Studios' first chance at a blockbuster title for for Sony, and it didn't pan out, and so now the studio's being reorganized.
I think it did pan out, but it seems that Sony's like, it didn't make us enough money. Like it made them money, so like, and that there is a fan base for that game. It's like, it seems like they're going like full corporation. Like, oh no, if we're not making billions of dollars of profit, like they're not willing.
If it's not a 10 out of 10, we don't want it.
They're not willing to have the small things. Like Xbox has the medium. That's a 3 out of 5 game for me. But I'm happy that I got to play it. Sony would never make a game like that anymore, it seems.
But that's the thing is that Microsoft didn't make the medium. They just published it. They don't own Bloober Team, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but they funded it though, I think, right?
Yeah, they threw some money at them. They made a weird game and it came out and it went away. Sony still does that. We don't know about those games because we don't identify them as Sony games because like the only reason we're identifying I think some of these Xbox published games as Xbox games is because Xbox has never had exclusives. Where I think if you were to dive deeper into like games published by Sony, it would there would be more games under there than you would think. It's not just The Last of Us. It's not just Days Gone. It's not just Ghost of Tsushima. Like there's a lot more there, but you don't recognize the shit because no one cares about it. The only reason people care about Xbox shit is because before they had nothing. Now they have shit and maybe some good stuff in the future.
See, I don't know. Like, where's anything from The Legend of Dragoon? That's a Sony franchise from the PlayStation 1 days. They will never
because it was a bad game, Jeff.
It wasn't. That's just not true. It was a solid JRPG that did unique, interesting things and told a cool story. I don't know. I see where you're coming from some degree, Derek, but like it's hard to not just see like, all right, let's start to talk about the Last of Us thing. So the idea being that they are gonna remake The Last of Us, which Andrew said is a game like a top game of all time that came out in the last decade, still playable today, and that's what Naughty Dog is working on right now. Apparently, they took it away from this smaller team and handed it to Naughty Dog. Why is Naughty Dog wasting their time making a Last of Us remake?
So maybe for money, but two, I read an article, I think it was today, that was basically saying Naughty Dog is having trouble coming up with their next game.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Naughty Dog's co-president says it's still struggling with multi-project development. So basically, the whole thing was they have multiple projects in pre-production, and they're all just stuck there. Like they can't move forward.
So I feel like
because Naughty Dog only knows how to make one kind of game.
It sounds like this remake is like, we've got to make something here. We'll designate we'll designate a small team to deal with this remake or whatever, because we're not moving in other directions or something. Like,
I feel like that's such a dumb decision to make, and like that's like the ultimate cop out. Oh, you know that video game that everyone considers one of the best games of all time? We're having some creative struggles. Let's just make that game again. Like, come on, you just put out The Last of Us 2. There's a Last of Us Remastered that came out in the last couple years. I've heard someone say like, oh, maybe they're doing it and they're gonna like have like Pedro Pascal and what's her face, Ramsey,
yeah,
be Joel and Ellie, and it's like
the show instead of the game.
Yeah, it's like, why make a game that's the show right before the show? Like, why? I don't know. That just seems like such a dumb thing to do in my mind. I just can't.
Yeah. I also just don't see the point of them not taking risks. You know, like the big blockbusters are going to make them a shit ton of money anyway. So like, what are you doing with those resources? Working on the PlayStation 6? Like,
PSVR 2.
Your console just came out.
Yeah. We've talked about it several times where we haven't even touched our PS5s much since launch. Played Bugsnax, played Spider-Man, played Astros, all of those in the first 2 weeks.
I play on my PS5 all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I haven't played anything interesting.
That's where I played It Takes Two. That's where I played Resident Evil 7.
But those aren't specific PlayStation things. Like I could play both.
Well,
of those games on my Xbox.
That's because nothing has come out. Is my point.
That's what I'm saying. Is like they're not doing anything exclusive that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
It's because nobody is really taking risks on those IP anymore.
And we also just had a pandemic, which completely fucked up the release window. Like, we were supposed to have Returnal, Deathloop, Far Cry 6. For Horizon, likely could have been a launch title, at least launch window. Like, there's a lot of things that I think fucked up the release of the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting article for sure. It's definitely a conversation piece. I'm like, even as you can see here, people definitely have different opinions on what its meaning is. In the end, we're still gonna get God of War 2. We're still gonna get Horizon 2. We're gonna get Spider-Man 3. We're gonna get all these big Sony
The Last
blockbusters.
of Us remake comes out, I'll probably play it.
And here's the thing: we're all gonna buy all of them. We're all gonna love all of them, and that's so. Like in the end, it's like, is it a bad thing? Like, I still watch every Marvel movie, and like, yeah, I enjoyed that too. It's like always like that was good to amazing, you know. And if that's just what Sony is, that's why I bought a PlayStation, is for those exact games, you know. So
it's very ironic that we're having this conversation in the same episode we're talking about games from the 90s, because the 90s is the golden age of doing the weird experimental IP.
Truth.
Fair.
Alrighty. Let's talk about what we've been playing lately. That's all we got for news. Who wants to go first? Adam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't have too much to talk about. Only big addition this week is I started picking up World of Warcraft Classic again.
Okay.
It revitalized push because the Burning Crusade is now in the beta, so that'll be releasing sometime this year for Classic. So my buddies are already in a guild, so if I hit level 60 before Burning Crusade comes out, I can run all the new level 60 to 70 dungeons with them.
Nice.
So for me, that's a bigger push because the game's a lot more fun when you're not just sitting by yourself leveling, you're doing things with friends. So my friends are going to help me level a little bit, and hopefully I'll actually get a character up to level 60 in time for Burning Crusade.
Right on.
So we still don't know when it comes out, though. It's in beta, but they haven't really said, when it'll be live.
Gotcha.
When did Classic come out?
It's like 2
About a year
years
ago. Was it 2
Was it
years?
2-ish years ago?
I got to look it up now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
feels
think
like
it
it's been a while.
Maybe like a year and a half. It's been
August 26, 2019. Wow.
Yeah,
Whoa,
so
it's
almost 2 years.
I feel like
crazy.
it really has to be any day now.
Soon
Yeah.
enough. Soon enough. They just announced it at BlizzCon, so I assume it'll
That's true.
be a little bit longer.
Probably this summer, fall.
I could see that. Yeah, so that's the only new thing. No, it's still a grind. It's the classic experience. So
All right.
I mean,
Andrew.
yeah.
What about you,
Yes.
Andrew?
Let's see. I finished Resident Evil 7. Yay.
That's right.
nice.
I didn't remember that the mine area even existed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think once you remove the mystery from that game, I just do not care about it. Like the
It's
part
like-
in the house is so enthralling, right? Like you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then once they actually reveal it to you, you're like, well,
Yeah.
it's okay then. But it's still a fun time. It's just to wet the tongue before Resident Evil Village comes out. I did try Oddworld Soulstorm because it
Oh.
was a PlayStation Plus game.
I see you already
And
abandoned it on
I
the.
played it for 30 minutes and then deleted it from my console.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
Ouch.
very clearly a sequel to whatever Oddworld game came before. I know nothing about that universe or its predecessors.
Oh, so were you just missing something from playing it, or?
Well, not only that, I was like, okay, I'll figure out the story stuff later, and so let me try the gameplay. And I just don't find the gameplay very fun. That might be my personal taste, but it's
Yeah.
like it's this weird 2D platformer puzzle game, but
Mhm.
it's like very uncooperative, very obtuse. It just wasn't very fun for me.
Yeah, I mean, that unfortunately comes down to it sometimes. Like games can be like story can be great, but at a certain point, if you're not enjoying the actual gameplay, then is it really worth playing for you?
Yeah,
I mean,
and even what they did show for the story didn't really get me either. Like the main character seemed to be revered by a lot of people, but from all accounts, he, from my point of view, he looked like just a like unlikable person. So I don't know. I don't really understand that, and maybe that comes from the previous games. Maybe it's just new. I don't know. But decided not to continue with it. It was free, so
hey,
Figured.
no loss on your end,
Why not?
aside from 30 minutes.
And then the other game that I played this week, which I'm very excited about, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the GameCube.
Oh
Ooh.
wow,
Just 'cause?
that
and
is a throwback.
Adam, I remember. Yeah, Adam, you and I
Oh.
believe, played a lot of it when we were kids.
Wow, you just
Um,
awakened so many childhood memories.
Dude, playing it again is so surreal
Oh.
because every memory I have of that is purely nostalgia based. And it's a fun time. It's not a good video game, but it's fun. I'm playing with my roommate, and it's like cutscenes are ripped straight from the 2000s Turtles show. The characters say the same 3 voice lines every time. Every time you use an attack, there's 2 attack buttons. Just like very it's a very bare bones game. But it's been pretty fun. I thought it's pretty funny that we've been talking a lot about Turtles. And my roommate happened to obtain a copy.
There you go.
Wow, where do you even find a copy?
I think someone he knew had one.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been fun.
Still,
Nice.
wow, yeah, that is. I have not thought about that game in years, but as some
It's one of
Some
my
pleasant memory.
like bucket list goals is to like obtain and beat all of the games that I played as a kid, like the bad like tie-in IP tie-in games that I never beat. Like I think there was a couple of Nicktoons games and stuff like that. So that's the plan,
Sweet. So that's it.
pretty much. Other than Halo.
I was gonna say we played some Halo, so we were
Yeah.
gonna start the campaigns. We ran into issues, downloading issues.
Yeah, because I can now say I am an official Game Pass subscriber. I have obtained Game Pass after talking about how great it is for a year and a half.
Yeah, you did it.
You finally subscribed.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we went to go play. It took much longer to download for Andrew and Derek than we thought it was going to. So
We didn't know you can't play cross-play between PC and Xbox in the campaigns.
Yeah, so after it finally downloaded, they're like, all right, we'll do 1 or 2 missions. It was pretty late. And also, Derek had mentioned that you can only play 2 players in Halo 1 campaign. We didn't believe him, but guess what? It's true. So we're like, all right, Tikon and I want to play on Legendary. We'll play it together. Andrew and Derek can play it together. They want to play on normal. And Derek was playing on console, and he could not play with Andrew. So we were just like, oh, what the fuck? So we ended up just going and playing some custom games with a bunch of our friends who were already playing. We had like 12 people playing
Halo
it was a
custom
whole
games.
lobby. It was real fun. That's like my favorite memories of Halo is just playing. We always call them reindeer games.
Yeah. I've determined, like, I think I can define even better, what I like and dislike about playing Halo, and that is that the games that we played that didn't require me to shoot a weapon were really fun. Like insanely fun. You heard me giggling my ass off playing that fucking game where it's like there's like an island and there's like 12 people standing on the island and the other 3 players have an assortment of vehicles with ramps and you have to try and knock them off of the platform with the vehicles. That was so much fun. And then we immediately switched to a game where it's like a 5v5 tactical protect the president shooter game. And when I played that, I was like, I have no fucking idea what's going on.
Yeah.
People are shooting me before I'm even seeing them.
See, I had so much fun playing that game mode, and I think that will come in time as you learn the weapons, as you learn the mechanics, and like you get a grasp of everything. I think you'll have more fun with that. But like I was explaining to Andrew at work how I was like, oh yeah, I was charging the plasma pistol and deleting Tikon's shield, and then instantly switching to the battle rifle and one-shotting him. In Halo 2, that was called the noob combo. I was like doing that to him and rubbing it in his face, and Andrew was like, what are you talking about? So. Like
I couldn't even figure out how to jump onto like a cinder block, Jeff. Like
so that stuff will come. You will enjoy those game modes more after you play.
I hope so. My immediate fear, and like this is maybe just because I haven't gotten used to them, like you said, but my immediate fear is that I just don't like Halo's mechanics at all. But we'll see.
They're floaty. That's like
it's all slow, floaty.
Is like that map that we played that stupid game or that game mode on. I guess the game mode isn't stupid. The map is stupid.
That map was just a jank tower.
Yeah, that map was built based on the understanding that like you would know how like the physics of like the person who built that understood how the Halo physics work and like how crouch jumping works and like how like if there's a small crack here.
Crouch jumping.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like there's little things like that. Like. That aren't even present in the modern. I don't even think you can crouch jump in Halo 4 or 5.
Yeah,
but in Halo 3, in Halo 2, in Halo, like to gain extra height, you would jump and then crouch, and you would gain like a sliver of height.
Yeah, so you could like jump onto some platforms. It's basically like imagine jumping like hurdles, and then you pull up your legs at the last second, like, and then stand up on the thing because you're a fucking superhuman.
Yeah, it was like a silly thing that was like present in tons and tons of first-person shooters back like in the early 2000s, late 90s. So yeah, like you wouldn't know. Like I learned that like online playing Halo 2 custom games with people. I learned about stupid stuff like sword canceling and like all the glitches that exist in Halo 2
and just even on a more basic level, what the guns do.
Yeah, what the guns do. And
what I'm hearing is that Halo is the Super Smash Bros. Melee of first-person shooters.
Yeah, there's a lot of sweet tech in there.
Okay.
Especially in the first 3 games. So you have a lot to learn. But I think as you learn the things, you'll enjoy it.
Based on that analysis, my interest level is raised a little bit.
Sweet.
Right.
So yeah, we will get back to like the Halo campaign soon. Probably in the next week we'll finally actually start it. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah. I played a single game of Destruction All Stars.
Nice.
That's a game.
I love it.
I'll never play it again. It's well made for people who'd want to do like a Rocket League that's about demolition derby instead of soccer.
Okay, so for what it does it well.
Yeah, not for me, but it is kind of an interesting concept and well made. It's definitely very well made, but I'm never going to play it again. The reason I played it is because I was waiting for Persona 5 Strikers to install, and it was installing from a disc, so it wasn't using internet connection. So yeah, I started Persona 5 Strikers. I only played for like 2 or so hours. It's cool. I think you said this, Andrew. It's cool to be back and like see all these characters, and it starts with like a welcome back party for Joker. I
teared up when that happened.
It's heartwarming and cool. everything just feels slightly off. Like the character voices feel slightly off. The
I
movement-
did notice that. I thought the characters, like they're still voiced well, but they're like slightly different.
everything's just slightly off from Persona 5. And then the combat right now, just in the very beginning, it definitely feels Muso. And I think the more, because right now I've only played as Joker still. I don't know when it gets to the point where you can play as other characters.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'll feel more like, I hear it's more like a Kingdom Hearts game as you go forward. It's more of an action JRPG than a Muso game. So I'm looking forward to getting more into that. And that's going to be my main game for a bit for sure. But that's it for me. Derek? What do
Quick
you got?
question: Did you meet Zenkichi?
Is he the guy in the cutscenes in the start in like the police thing? Is he the police
Maybe.
guy? No,
Probably.
I haven't. Like the characters have not met anyone by that name yet.
All right.
I'll come back to you when I do. All right, Derek, what do you got?
So yeah, I mean, my library is pretty low. I've been playing Outriders more.
Why haven't you said Jeff can play Outriders with me?
Because I'm playing during the day when you are
You
working.
son of a bitch.
Just hey, you never know, Derek.
Yeah, I've been playing that more, and I am like loving and hating it at the same time, and not like the hate, like I hate the game, but like the hate that like when you're frustrated when you die kind of feeling, because I'm like just playing on the highest tier available to me at all times, and it provides pretty challenging gameplay. Like you have to execute each encounter like as efficiently and perfectly as you can. Like if I don't activate my abilities at the right time and like CC the right enemies, like I'm gonna die. So it's a fun balance. The encounters are basically seem to get to the point where it's like your encounter is gonna be like one of two things. It's either gonna be like a couple like heavy enemies and then a lot of just random enemies, like basically fodder around, and you just like use them to heal up while you're like trying to melt down the heavier enemies, or it's like a clusterfuck and they just send tons and tons of like melee enemies at you, and you're like trying to like all right, like CC those enemies and get them away from you while also like handling like this maybe a sniper in the background. It feels like each one of the things I kind of like about this game is it feels like each encounter is designed like purposefully, instead of just like here's some enemies, deal with them. It's like, you know, someone went in and was like, all right, I'm going to put a sniper here so that like if they try to like the character, you know, the player tries to run this way, they're going to hit this sniper fire, and then they're going to have to like it like I keep having to like think on my feet, and I like that a lot about the game. Yeah, I finally feel like I'm getting far enough in the game where like I'm getting like a nice build going, and you know I understand what I'm doing. But it's when I die, it's frustrating because sometimes the encounters are so long that it's like, oh, I did that for 3 minutes. Like it's 3 minutes of stressful like running around shooting like kiting enemies. Like you're thinking so much, you're doing so much, and then like one errant mistake you die and you're like, shit, I gotta go back to the beginning of that encounter. But it's like at the same time it's like, all right, I got it this time, you know, like this is easy, you know, I know what to do. So yeah, it's fun. I like eventually got to a point where you unlock a couple more like side mission stuff, and you get to go back to some previous areas and do that stuff. So I've been doing that stuff. The story's still bleh.
You're still skipping all the cutscenes?
Yeah, I'm still skipping all the cutscenes, but I'm really enjoying the gameplay. I'm looking forward to playing more with you guys, because I think playing with 3 people is where this game might really, really shine, when you just have everybody executing all these different abilities at the same time and like working together. It sounds like it'll be really satisfying.
Just let me
Can
know,
you do
man.
crossplay?
Yes, it does have crossplay.
Did they get the PC to Xbox crossplay working yet? I know they were having issues with it.
I don't know. I think so.
Okay.
Last I saw, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, and then I've been playing. Been finally getting into Bravely Default. I've decided that I'm just gonna finish that and then play Persona.
Okay.
Since this seems to be the one that I'm getting. So I'm gonna finish that. I'm at Wiswald.
Nice. Wiswald's, it's a pretty fun place. There's like a magic school there.
Yeah,
That's like the
yeah.
whole
I'm looking
idea.
forward
That's pretty wizard.
to diving through. I'm working on leveling up my jobs. Just kind of right now. I was just kind of grinding for a little bit because I was like felt like I was a little under leveled
Mhm.
for like the next dungeon or whatever. So I went and did some side quests, and now I'm like, all right, now I can do a little grinding and XP up, get my jobs up.
Yeah, see, grinding
Yeah.
isn't so bad because you can make the battles at 4 times speed, and like
Right,
you
and you
can
just-
use some of those
True.
items to chain battles together. Use those like items, the monster items.
Yeah.
It makes it really easy to grind.
I really want to get that. What was that class you the giant shield one?
Oh, the Shield Master.
Because I'm basically the one problem I'm having right now is my healer is getting all the aggro, and I'm wondering if maybe when I switch Adele over to a berserker, that maybe that will help. But I think right now, Gloria I don't know if it's because she's a bard. I made her a bard to get like the bard buffs
Mm-hmm.
for right now, and I don't know if it's because she's a bard. Is that why? Like, so she has higher targetability, or
There is a stat called chance of being targeted, and the higher that
Right.
number is, the more likely it is they're going to be targeted.
so I need to relook at that because
Yeah.
I switched my main character from a vanguard to a thief because I had fully leveled the vanguard, and I think that lowered his chance of being targeted.
Yeah, thieves
So-
are evasive. Vanguard has one of the highest chances of being targeted. Also, their secondary ability makes it they do more damage the higher they are.
Yeah,
I had I used a Vanguard the entire game. Like I would have him learn. It was Seth for me. He would learn some new abilities, go back to being a Vanguard. Learn some new
Yeah.
abilities on other jobs, go back to being. By the end of the game, he was like my main damage dealer. Him and Adele.
Yeah.
But you're gonna get the Shield Master soon.
right. Yeah,
Within the
so I'm
next
figuring,
couple
okay, I
drops.
can pop that on Gloria, and she can just tank while healing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a couple more classes that eventually get healing spells, so you don't only have to have a white mage.
Yep, there's like the Spirit Master and other versions of stuff like that. So yeah, you'll
Yeah.
get there. It's fun, right? You're figuring out. It's clicking.
Now that I'm getting the more jobs, it's like, okay, now all these windows are opening, and there's all these different things you can do, and it definitely seems like it's like now they start just throwing them at you.
Yeah, you get them real fast.
Yeah, I like that because it's like, okay, what do I, the only downside is like like obviously, unless you're like a masochist, you can't level them all to level 12.
You can.
I mean, you could, yeah.
Yeah, there are some strategies for farming JP. If you ever want to look them up, you can get it done real quick.
Yeah, I feel like eventually I probably will.
Yeah. Sweet. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I've definitely like hit a groove the other day and was like, all right, yeah, I've got this. I'm enjoying this game.
Nice.
The story is like, it's interesting, but also like, I don't know, the characters are fun. I like
Yeah.
all the characters, so that helps.
My review for the game should be up on the website right now. Go check it out, thegamesharks.com. Yeah, and that was one of the big things I talked about was like the story's fine, but the characters are interesting and drive you forward because like they're all likable and they have an interesting dynamic between all 4 of them. Cool. Anything else?
No, I think that might be it.
All right, sweet. Well, then I think we're at a great spot to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking about the greatest video games of the 1990s. Hey guys, Jeff here. We had a bit of a technical issue while recording this episode, and all of Derek, Adam, and Andrew's audio wasn't recorded for the first little bit of us talking about the top games of the 90s. So I just wanted to give you a quick recap of what we talked about. The 2 runners up for 10th place were Metal Gear Solid and Sonic Adventure. Both being at the top of Derek and T-Con's list respectively. Derek was kind of upset that no one else had Metal Gear Solid on their list, making it so it didn't make our official top 10, and we all vehemently made fun of T-Con for having Sonic Adventure at the top of his list. Our number 10 game was Street Fighter 2, which was on myself, Andrew, and Jose's list, making our number 10 slot. We talked about how it's one of the greatest fighting games of all time and kind of transcends general media. Everyone in the 90s knew what Street Fighter was. They know who Ryu and Chun-Li were, and it was a big phenomenon and took over the arcades. And our number 9 game was Sonic the Hedgehog, which was the second game on T-Con's list, and it was also part of Adam's list, pushing it into the number 9 slot. I talked a bit about how I'm not a big fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Derek and Andrew somewhat echoed that, but because T-Con and Adam liked that game, it made it as our number 9 on the list. Our number 8 is Super Mario 64, and you're going to hear Derek in the middle of our conversation coming in just a second talking about that game. Sorry again for the technical issues, and enjoy the rest of the list.
Like the first time last year when the Super Mario Collection came out, and I definitely see and understand your criticisms of it. Like, yeah, it doesn't control the greatest, but I still think that like it is a really, really well designed 3D platformer in like that full 3D space. And when you like consider it, when you look at all of the 3D Mario games, like it still has some of its levels are iconic and like are some of the coolest levels in Mario. I think it definitely deserves to be on a list, but it's a little flawed, I would say, in that it was the pioneer of its. It was the first really big 3D platformer kind of detached camera, and because of that, there's some weird things in it, and it's like you have to separate yourself. You have to physically go in a time machine to the 90s to play this game.
Yeah, it definitely it feels out of place now, but like you're saying, the level design in this game is incredible. That is one thing I did appreciate about it a ton when I was playing it through the 3D All-Star Collection, was that it's like each world is like its own cool little puzzle box, and there's so many different challenges that you can go in, and like every time you go in to do a different star mission, it's slightly different, and some things are missing, or there's some new stuff to it. So I did appreciate that about the game a lot, and it definitely, like I said, is one of the most influential games of all time for sure.
Yeah, easily. And like we can, a lot of it is like rose-colored glasses. Like we can look on it very fondly, and then kind of forget about some of its, like, by today's standards, it has all these flaws, but in the moment, this, was like the best thing. So there's always that to remember when we're talking about a game that's 30 something years, like 30ish years old at this point, or getting close to it. I think so. Like by today's standards, a lot of old games do not hold up, but you can still remember them fondly.
I know that was, when making my list, how well it held up now, it was a lot of was important in how I ranked these games.
It pushed it down your list a bit.
That's a big factor for me too.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, then let's move on to our number 7, also with 18 points. We actually had 3 games in a row that had 18 points, so it was a lot of like referencing to figure out the correct order. But our number 7 game on our list is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night was my number 4. It was Andrew's number 4. It was Derek's.
That was not my number 4. It was my number 7.
Oh, sorry. It was Derek's number 4. It was my number 4. It was Derek's number 4.
Number 4.
It was Andrew's number 7. And I believe that was it. So, yeah, between the 3 of us, we got it up to our number 7 collective. I feel like we talked about this a lot recently when we did our Symphony of the Night episode about a year ago.
Recently, a year ago.
I mean, personally to me, it's the superior of the Super Metroid Symphony of the Night combo. I love everything it's doing. Playing as Alucard feels so fucking cool and smooth, and like his moonwalk animation is sick. I love the finding of the weapons and leveling him up, which you don't get in Super Metroid, and exploring the castle So fun. And then you do the castle again with the upside down, the two
Not
endings.
so fun.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was such a fun, cool, unique, weird thing that like you find hints of throughout.
I like
If,
the idea of it.
if you're aware of like the fact that that's going to happen, going through the game the first time and seeing like looking at the ceiling and be like, oh, this is so well designed.
You see,
Mhm.
I agree with that to an extent, but then once the castle actually flips and you start playing that, the beginning of that area is fucking brutal.
Oh yeah, because you're all the way at the top where it's like an opening.
Well, yeah, it's just
It's like an
the
open
difficulty
space.
spikes so hard when you first start, so it was pretty painful to
Hmm.
play through the beginning of that. But it's still cool, because at that point you know the layout of the castle, so you're like, okay, I bet there's bosses here, 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 and here. So then you're just going throughout the areas upside down until you find everything.
Yeah. I agree with you, Jeff. I think it is, when you consider the two games, it is a superior of the Vania influences in the end, even though it's not the original.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does the most of what I like now about Metroidvanias.
So hang on, Derek. So you said it's the best Castlevania to attribute to the Metroidvanias.
No, he's saying it's better than Super Metroid.
No, you're saying it's better than Super Metroid.
No, I'm also saying it's better than Super Metroid.
Okay, that's not how it sounded to me.
Yeah,
I got
Sorry.
that.
yeah.
Never mind.
Well, when I basically was like, which one of these am I putting on my list? Am I putting Super Metroid or am I putting Symphony of the Night? And I decided Symphony of the Night because I think it takes what Super Metroid has and brings it to a whole new level. And I think it's the clear influence. It's funny. I think when we talked about these games before, we thought more of the Metroid was, like the Metroid is the more clear, and Castlevania is just kind of added on for fun. But now that I think about it more, I feel like the Castlevania version of the Metroidvania is a little more of what I like as a game. I think it's a better explanation.
So I think the thing that works best for me is think about Hollow Knight. You can picture the Hollow Knight map in your head. You can like go to the different areas. Like that map is so cohesive and interesting. That is what the castle and Castlevania Symphony of the Night does. Like I know like the top left is the staircase to the cathedral, and then in the center there's the Colosseum. Then you go down into the caverns, and like I have that that map is so well designed and sticks out in my head. Whereas with Super Metroid, I can't as well place the different sections of the map in my head. It's not as memorable. I think that's why it sticks out for me as a better Metroidvania, because you go back through the castle and be like, oh, I know the exact point in this castle I need to go to do this thing with this new power that I just got. Whereas I don't feel like that was as strong in Super Metroid.
I feel that, and I feel like that translates to the games. If you want to like that build off the influence, especially in modern day, if you want to look at Hollow Knight versus something maybe like Axiom Verge, I remember I've played both games like thoroughly. I know, like you're saying, I know that Hollow Knight map. I know kind of where everything fits. But Axiom Verge, if I were to play that now, I would have no idea where or what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I think it's one's that Metroid style where I guess there's that replayability fact that maybe when you go back, like, I don't know, if I went to play Super Metroid right now, I feel like I still wouldn't quite know where and what I was doing, despite the fact that we played the game a year ago. Whereas stuff like Hollow Knight, stuff like Symphony of the Night, I feel like I have a better understanding because, like you're saying, it's more memorable. The areas are more memorably designed, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and it makes me happy to hear that you think that way too.
Yeah.
Andrew,
When each
do you
space is
disagree?
unique.
I definitely disagree, but that's an entire other discussion, so I'll save it.
Yeah, that could be in a whole episode of its own. Metroid versus Castlevania.
I mean, we've done episodes on both of them. I feel like we touched on it a lot in the Castlevania episode.
Probably it was a while ago.
But Andrew also didn't play through the game at that point, so maybe we could have a more interesting conversation about it now.
I mean, I've played through them both now.
It's true. All right, let's talk about our number 6, the last game that had 18 points. That would be Pokemon Red and Blue. Pokemon Red and Blue had 5 points, or let's see, it was Derek's number 6, it was T-Con's number 6, it was Jose's number 3, and it was Adam's number 2. So that is why Pokemon Red and Blue had 18 points. Let's talk about Pokemon Red and Blue. Probably the most important game for me of the 90s, I would say. The game I probably spent the most time with in the 90s.
And
I'd
it's
say,
on
like-
your list.
What? It's not on my list.
Not mine either.
Interesting.
I
There's a
put
reason
it
for
on
that.
there just because
I also
Hey,
have a reason
going
for that,
through-
and I bet you, Jeff, that they're the same reason.
I'm going. I know this reason because gold and silver are better.
Spoilers. Anyways,
I'll never tell.
so yeah, Pokemon Red and Blue. It's like one of the earliest memories of like Pokemon Red and Blue is what defined me as a gamer, and it's like so like every game before that was games that I would play with my siblings or with my dad. Pokemon Red and Blue was the first time like I had my Game Boy. That was my game. My parents didn't know anything about it. My siblings didn't know anything about it. It was like my experience, and that's like what got me into gaming was Pokemon Red and Blue, and it's like those 150 Pokemon are just so memorable. I could still name them all like with ease. I can go through that game blindfolded. Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, make it.
The
So like
entire poker app, I dare you.
there was a time where I knew it. I know like the first 2/3 of it now. But like,
I distinctly remember, Jeff, you sending me a Snapchat
and I fuck
of
it up.
you naming them all alongside the rap, and then you fucked up, and you're like, "Damn it!"
So like I don't know, like Pokemon Red and Blue is like the one game that I appreciate it down to its fucking code, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Like I have dissected that game more than any other game. I know every nook and cranny of that game. I could play it blindfolded. Like I don't know, it's just like what is there to say? It's like the game I've
It is
like devoted
a
the most of my
phenomenon.
life to. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it made my list. Because going through the list, there's actually not a lot of 90s games that actually play it, it turns out.
Weird.
Surprise.
Like, not as many as you guys. So so anywho. But yeah, it's a freaking phenomenon. Like it's gotta be on the list somewhere. Like for the last 25 years, it's been like just beyond video games in general. It's just become this cultural thing.
Mm.
So I think it just had to be on there for me.
There was not a JRPG like its kind at the time.
No.
Exactly.
It
It
was
was a
definitely
it was a more easily accessible JRPG because a lot, around the same time, Pokemon Red and Blue came out. What, 96? 95?
97 in Japan, 96. No, 96 in Japan, 97 in the US, I believe.
Yeah, so like at the time, all you had for JRPGs are the Final Fantasies and whatever other classical
Dragon Quest.
JRPGs are coming out. Yeah, Dragon Quest, and then maybe some early PS1 stuff like Legend of Dragoon. I don't know how late that was.
That was late. That was like 99, I want to say.
Yeah, so that stuff is great for people who are already fans of it, but it's really hard genre to get into. So Pokemon was a really great way to break that barrier. And so it was great for that. Plus, the Pokemon themselves are all super likable, especially the first 150.
Mm.
Most
Naturally.
of them.
You can't beat that original trio for starters. Like just so iconic.
And Pikachu,
And
The-
Pikachu.
the unsung mascot, or I guess at this point sung, but it's
They're
at
very
the
sung.
time, at the time they did not
sung.
expect Pikachu to become the mascot of the show or the
It
games.
just kind of happened. There was a time where Clefairy was going to be like the main mascot. In the
Yep.
manga, Poliwhirl is like the main character's like go-to Pokemon. So
Yeah, it speaks to the strength of the designs of those Pokemon because I believe a world where any of them are the mascot, right?
for sure.
I think that they've even said like everybody has their favorite Pokemon. Like every Pokemon can be considered someone's favorite.
Yeah,
Like-
for sure. I think the easy thing to do now is just go into what our number 5 is with 19 points. It's Pokemon Gold and Silver.
They beat it by 1 point.
Yeah. So Andrew.
Wait, I thought it came out in 2000.
So
No.
yeah,
No.
I didn't put it on my list because I thought it came out in 2000
Yeah, that's why it
99
wasn't
in
on mine.
Japan.
in America.
No, well you
I
did
thought
this
we were
with
going by
you did
America.
this Super Mario 3. Super Mario 3 came out in '89 in Japan, but
I just didn't look it up. I just immediately assumed it was
no.
America.
That's
Okay,
why. Okay.
Right.
I
Yeah.
literally
so
told you to
for-
go year by year.
yeah.
Okay, so
Uh,
for full clarity's sake, originally I had gold and silver as 2 and red and blue as 3,
Mhm.
but I removed it because I saw it was 99 in Japan. I thought we were going by American dates.
Nope, it is when the
No.
game.
Well,
released.
darn. So
So it was
I agree with you on
my.
this.
It was
So,
my number 5. It was Andrew's number 4. It was T-Con's number 5. Yeah. So it was high. So basically, red and blue was you two, Jose and T-Con, and then gold and silver was myself, Andrew, and
Yeah.
T-Con.
I mean, I
I
feel
did by 1
comfortable
point.
with both of them on the list because they both do really good things,
Yeah.
and they were both super like influential. I feel like, but
So I
I mean,
mean, we
it's
talked
funny
about
that-
it in our sequel episode. I think Gold and Silver might be like the greatest sequel to a video game of all time, based on improvement of mechanics and like world building and like continuation of a story, but in a subtle, interesting way.
And iteration on existing mechanics and design and like ideas. Like
Yeah.
the next 100 designs are all also great.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't think there's a bad Pokemon in the first 2 generations. Whereas like you get into Generation 3 and there's starts to be some questionable ones.
Jinx.
Jinx is great, man.
Come on, dude.
terrifying kid since '96. So yeah, it's just like it took what Pokemon Red and Blue did and perfected it. Like I don't think there's been as cohesive and like perfect of a Pokemon game since Gold and Silver. I think every other Pokemon game has like some slight flaws in it. I don't think there are any flaws in Pokemon Gold and Silver.
I think Black and White is underrated, but yeah,
I
Gold and
don't
Silver
disagree with
are
you.
great.
Black and White is like one of I think the best standalone generations by far. But just because Gold and Silver is that continuation of Red and Blue in such a unique and interesting, and well done
Right.
way.
yeah, it's it's the one sequel.
Yeah.
Well, not when you count Black and White too, but
Also great.
So yeah, all the same things about Pokemon that we said about Pokemon Red and Blue, but just like more and better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they added 2 new types.
Mm-hmm. They
Which
added
is like-
breeding. They added shinies.
They added so much.
Yeah.
like so many of the core staples of the Pokemon games came out first in Gold and Silver.
Yeah.
And there's
So-
also a lot of unique things about it, like smelting Pokemon balls. With
Yeah,
the
that was one of my
berries.
favorite features.
Apricots.
Apricots,
Apricots.
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like that was one of the coolest.
Apricorns, Jeff.
Sorry.
Apricorns, yeah.
Apricorns.
it also had some sweet glitches where you could like duplicate Pokemon.
Yeah, the PC glitch. That's
Yeah.
right. That wasn't in Red and Blue, right? It was only
No.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I love Pokemon Gold and Silver. Writing this list, I was like, do I want to go back and like casually play Pokemon Gold and Silver? Maybe I will do that at some point. All right, number 4. Everybody, praise Jose. Final Fantasy VII with also with 19 points, but because it was my number 1 and Jose's number 2, it
saw that coming.
overtook, Pokemon's. So yeah, I had gotten Derek, Andrew, and T-Con's list with no sign of Final Fantasy VII. And I was like, these motherfuckers I'm gonna kill all of them. And then Jose sent in the list, Final Fantasy VII number 2 game. I was like, oh, I love Jose so much. Fucking shout out to Jose. Yeah. So Final Fantasy VII is our number 4 game. This is my favorite game of all time. It's like what solidified, like Pokemon introduced me to JRPGs, but Final Fantasy VII made me fall in love with JRPGs. I think it's such a cool, weird story. The characters are all lovable and great. The materia system is still to this day one of the most in-depth, like not job, but like
Equipment
systems in JRPGs.
Upgrade systems.
I love that world, the world of Gaia.
Is that what it's
yeah.
called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gaia is the world in Final Fantasy VII. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like a lot of like my, I don't want to say development as a human, but a lot of my interests in like the things I like are because of Final Fantasy VII. So
Like
I don't know,
like video games.
like
and
video
women?
games. And
You
yeah,
search for the
And my-
meteor materia.
my wife kind of looks like Tifa, so you know. So yeah.
Anywho,
I don't know if you guys have anything you want to say about Final Fantasy VII. I know, Andrew, you like all of a sudden, like in the last couple months, you've had a switch flip where you're like super anti Final Fantasy VII.
I'm not anti Final Fantasy VII. I just don't like. I'm
You
not.
said to me the other day it's a bad game.
Did I?
Yes. I forgot what we were talking about. I was like,
I think
it's not on any.
this.
No, I was like, it's not on anyone's list, and you're like, well, that's because it's a bad game.
That was a joke, Jeff. Come on.
Too close.
I
to
haven't
don't
finished
mean
it
that.
yet, so I can't tell you. Yeah.
No,
true.
I don't think it's a bad video game by any stretch of the imagination, but I just it's just not for me. I just don't think that it was doing anything special over something like Final Fantasy VI, which also came out this decade.
That's true.
And I having played it recently, like I said earlier, a big thing for me is how well does it hold up, and I think that it was the first entry for PlayStation and for the Final Fantasy into the 3D space, and I think they handled it kind of, at least by today's standards, it feels sloppy, but by then I admit it was probably the pinnacle, right?
Yeah, they promoted this game. This is like the first blockbuster video game.
Yeah,
and it came through on that back in the 90s. It was like there were ads for it in spaces you wouldn't expect to see ads for video games in front of like late night shows and stuff like that. It was huge. They made a big deal about it.
So and all of that is great for its time, but based on my current knowledge of it, my current experience with it, I couldn't justify putting it on my list. So
we should do a Final Fantasy VII playthrough at lunch.
We should play through all the Final Fantasies.
I'll show you the way one day.
I'd love to. Jeff, I would love for you to guru me through all of the JRPGs that I cannot get my head around.
Well,
I want to make this a thing.
We got to start with Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
Cool. We're doing it.
Sure.
All right. Let's move on to our number 3. Number 3 with 21 points. The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Okay.
Oh, Link to the Past is on there.
Link to the Past was my number 6. It was Derek's number 5. It was Andrew's number 1. And that is it. Yeah, Link to the Past is it's one of the best Zelda games. I think it's like one in the top 3 easily.
I think it's in contention for the best video game of all time.
Wow.
There are people who definitely would make that argument.
It's so like it's such it takes, even before Breath of the Wild, it took the idea of the original Legend of Zelda and turned it to 11, right? And it's the world is designed so well, and then you have the Dark World on top of it, which adds an entire other layer of world and puzzle design, and the way the fact that you can essentially tackle any of the Dark World dungeons in any order, probably with some exceptions. It's been a while. It's pretty outstanding, especially for the 90s, right? And a lot of the items in that game are, some of them are pretty unique and like you never use them, but some of them, became iconic Zelda weapons, like the hook shot, like the hammer even, right? And it's like, it was the first Zelda game to really to take the story and make it worth it. And the gameplay is always super solid. The music is iconic. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a very cohesive experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it holds up so well today too.
Yeah.
I think that's like we're 50-50 on games holding up on this list. Like I would argue that Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't hold up, and Super Mario 64 doesn't hold up super well. And Andrew, you don't think Final Fantasy VII holds up super well, but like I think we could all agree Link to the Past is a very playable game in 2021.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would argue it's more playable than Ocarina of Time.
I fully agree. 100%.
I do not disagree with you.
That is not a hot take whatsoever, Derek. That is just a fact.
Yeah, it's so much easier to like go back to the Super Nintendo games, I think, than a lot of the N64 games, just because of the pixel art.
It's like we've said before. The transition from 2D to 3D for video games was an important step. However, that is very much a step in the ladder of video games. They weren't at the top, but they were getting there. It was just a step in the process.
Yep. Anyone else got anything they want to say?
Nope.
Okay, then let's talk about
Sure.
number 2, Super Metroid.
Ooh,
Wow.
Super
Good,
Metroid
good,
got
good.
26 points. It was my number 8. It was not on Derek's list. It was Andrew's number 2. It was, I don't think it was on Ticon's list. It wasn't on Jose's list, and it was Adam's number 4. So being so high on Andrew's list is kind of what pushed it really high up on ours, and being decently high on mine and Adam's, or decently high on Adam's and middle of mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked about it a bit already when we were talking about Castlevania. Derek and I, obviously, I think it's funny that we're split, where Derek and I are on the Castlevania side, and Andrew and Adam, you both are on the Super Metroid side more so. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about it a bit.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, see, when I told you that was the discussion for another time, I didn't expect it to be later this episode. The way that you guys were talking about Symphony of the Night made it seem to me like Super Metroid wasn't going to appear on our list. So this is honestly a nice surprise for me. But I think Super Metroid's world design is impeccable.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it's so unique, and the world teaches you what you need to do and teaches you how to use your powers, even without the game telling you have those powers. Right, the way that it teaches you how to use the Shine Spark is pretty ingenious, and it was one of the first games to fully embrace this level of teaching and tutorials. I guess without having an explicit tutorial section. And to your point earlier, I think that on maybe an equal level, like the only reason I know Castlevania's map any bit better is because I've played it more recently, and because they do force you to go through the castle twice, right? But I think that if I were to pick up Super Metroid tomorrow, I would get it, right? And it's just like the shooting mechanics are really solid. I think that the only thing I can knack it about is that there's a steep learning curve. But I just think that the world design's super good. The progression is amazing, and you can gate the game however you want it to be, right? You can turn off powers if you want. So
Yeah,
I just think it's super great. Holds up really well.
I think my issues with it compared to Symphony of the Night is I felt like it didn't control as well. I felt like we had issues with like the bouncing off walls mechanic. That super jump mechanic I think is an example where I agree with you, where like it does a really good job of teaching you how to use your abilities, with the exception of the super jump where you watch the bird do it. I don't know if you guys caught on instantly like, oh, I need to mimic this bird. I did not catch on to that whatsoever.
But the area is designed for it to teach you. So even if it takes you a second, you still will figure it out. And that's the point, is that it's so explicitly designed. You have the long hallway and then the long vertical, and you watch the bird sprint to the end of the hallway, crouch, and then jump. And so you by trial and error, you have to figure out that that's what you have to do.
I don't know if I'm an idiot, but I tried for like a half hour and didn't figure it out, and I had to look it up.
Really?
Yeah, I did not figure that out on my own.
I also got stuck and had to figure out exactly what like the button presses were to do that.
And here's the thing: in the 90s, you couldn't look it up. So this is what taught people how to do it.
That is not true. There would have been an instruction manual in the box with how to do every single technique in the game.
Well, you couldn't Google it.
No,
so
but
technically, I am still correct.
No, you said you couldn't look it up. But anyways,
look it up and Google are synonymous.
I think the sprite work in this game is incredible, and probably a bit better than Castlevania. Yeah,
I really love the color palette.
Yeah, the color palette's great. The theme of isolation, I think they do super well in this game. It does have a lot of really incredible things.
I think it nails its atmosphere much more than Castlevania.
I think they're pretty equal. Like the theme of isolation, it works super well in.
And here's the thing with this whole list, even, is that all of these games are fucking incredible. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was so I think the next, you could present our 11 to 20 as our top 10, and it would be believable, right? Like this is
if we just
so hard.
If we just take Sonic the Hedgehog off and bump up Metal Gear Solid, we'd have a pretty incredible list here.
And maybe remove one of the Pokemon games.
I agree with that.
Okay, so here we are, our number one game. I think we all
genuinely have no idea what it's going to be.
It's the only game that was on every single one of our lists.
Oh, really?
Yep. And I think it is probably like the most well-known game of the 90s, and that is Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
There it is. Saw that one coming.
Damn it.
So here's the thing. It was Adam's number one. It was Jose's number one.
Yeah, that
and
That's
then
a bit.
and
So how many points total did it get?
it got 43, and Super Metroid got 26.
Wow.
Hot damn.
So being Adam and Jose's number one, it like ascended it. That already put it at least number 3. And then it was T-Con's number 4. It was Andrew's number 6. It was Derek's number 8.
8.
And it was my number 3.
It was almost not on my list.
Yeah. But so like I said, Ocarina of Time, I have vivid memories of me trying to explain this game to my mom as a 7-year-old to like take me to Funko Land to buy a used copy of it. It's just like, yeah, I feel like this was the game on the N64. Obviously Super Mario 64 happened, but like Ocarina of the Time, that was like a big turning point for video games. It was like the first successful 3D adventure game, and it took that magic of the original Legend of Zelda and Link to the Past and like put it in the 3D space, and like it's still pretty playable today. I think it's more playable than Mario 64. Obviously
easily.
not as playable as any of the Super Nintendo games, I think, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, it introduces Z-targeting.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Pretty incredible mechanic for the future of 3D games.
yeah, it's a staple. Like between that and like the camera in Super Mario 64, Nintendo was teaching everyone else how to make 3D games.
Like, this is how you do it. Make this better. Go.
But yeah, I don't know. Going through,
It's an iconic adventure game. You know, it's set up like it just nailed the whole like, you know, you're the good guy. There's this big bad guy, and you know, you have the time travel mechanics. It just feels like an adventure game. It just does that vibe correctly.
that moment where Link pulls the sword out and like travels 7 years into the future, or is like frozen in time for 7 years, and like you walk out and every like Hyrule Town is like
Zombified.
yeah, it's destroyed. There's zombies everywhere. You see Mount I almost said Mount Doom. What's the
Death
mountain? Death. You see
Death
Mount
Mountain.
Death Mountain in the distance, and it's like erupted, and there's that like cloud in the of like the ring of smoke around it, and just everything is like has gone to shit. That moment for me as a kid was like super impactful. I still remember being like,
Yeah, and even it's like one of the like,
Whoa.
earlier games where you can see like a world that like has changes in it. Like you can go back to it at different times and like things are changing. You know, a lot of games didn't have that. It's like
Yeah.
it's always going to be like this. So that was just by itself a really cool feature. And having to go back and forth to solve some of the puzzles in that game was also really cool.
Yeah, it was like
Like,
another iteration of the Light Dark World, but taken with another spin with time travel, which is really cool.
right. And
Yeah, like how you could not get into the Spirit Temple until you went back as youngling to go in there first to unlock one of the
right. Yeah, or some limiting equipment to child and adult is kind of like a
Yeah.
cool.
It's like Link to the Past. It is an extremely well designed game.
Mm.
However, I
Right.
think
Yeah.
think the reason that Link to the Past is so much better, in my opinion, is because of its longevity. Through its medium at the time, because like we said, this is still very much a stepping stone game. And while it did masterfully bring Zelda and video games in general from 2D to 3D, it's by today's standards feels clunky.
Yeah, I like Link to the Past. I think is definitely the better game, hands down, no question. I think Ocarina of Time is the more influential game and more important game of the 90s, and I think that's why it was
More important, 110%.
Yeah, and I think I'm assuming that's why Jose had it so high on his list. Jose didn't have Link to the Past on his list, so maybe he's just never played Link to the Past.
Maybe
That's not an important game to him.
I would love to. Yeah, it's fun because we can all use whatever metrics we want to determine
Exactly.
our lists.
And I think it being the only game on all of our lists is like a determining factor of like it was such an important game as well as being a good game.
Yeah,
Exactly,
And
yeah,
I think maybe more so than any other game, this game has been dissected to death. But I have a video I'm going to link you guys, and I want everyone to watch it, including anyone listening. It's called Ocarina of Time: A Masterclass in Subtext. It is the best video on YouTube.
All right, I'll make sure I watch it later on.
The channel who does it, Good Blood, also recently released a video on God of War. So feel free to check that out. It is of comparable quality.
Excellent. So yeah, that is our top 10 list. I guess at this point we can go through, do everyone's top 10s.
My favorite.
Here's my list. I had Final Fantasy VII as my number 1. Final Fantasy Tactics was my number 2, which I knew none of you were going to have on your list because none of you have played them. And that's just, I knew that's what it was, but I had to do it. Ocarina of Time was 3. Symphony of the Night 4. Pokemon Gold and Silver was 5. Link to the Past 6. Super Mario World did not show up on this list, which surprised me.
I've never played Super Mario World, and so that was a big thing really for me.
Derek, what happened?
Like I said, this is so hard.
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't on your list, Derek.
Because I put Super Mario World 2, which is the superior game.
Yoshi's Advance.
That's a good point.
Yoshi's Island.
My number 8 was Super Metroid. My number 9 was Street Fighter 2, and my number 10 was Mega Man X, which I think the Mega Man X games are even better than the Mega Man games personally. However, I think the Mega Man 2 is like the bigger, more important game, and that's why I think it showed up on more lists than in our 80s than Mega Man X.
Plus, if you look at the pool you're drawing from the 80s and 90s, I had Mega Man 3 like for a while, like as a game I was considering, but after the list just kept piling up, I was like, there's no way this goes on here.
Yeah. Derek's list. Metal Gear Solid was his number 1, followed by Half-Life, Mario Kart 64, Symphony of the Night, Link to the Past, Pokemon Red and Blue, Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, and Earthbound.
Oh, thank you, Derek.
Yeah.
I was wondering if anyone else was going to have
I
Earthbound.
thought it was going to be on more lists.
That's what I thought too.
Earthbound was 1 off from being in that tie for 10th. Andrew's list.
If only I had voted with my heart instead of my brain.
If you put Earthbound as your number 1, it would have been.
I know, but I while as much as I love Earthbound, I think Super Metroid and Link to the Past are better video games.
Andrew's list: Link to the Past, number 1; Super Metroid, Earthbound, Pokemon Gold and Silver, Mario Party 2, Ocarina of Time, Symphony of the Night, Dance Dance Revolution.
Let's go!
Chrono Trigger, and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
You want to talk about games that hold up? Dance Dance Revolution is timeless.
That's
Fair.
true.
I will give you
You're
that.
not wrong. Ticon's list: Sonic Adventure was his number 1. Which
Oh man!
I wonder what his number 1 is going to be in the 2000s.
Oh no!
Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Oh man!
Or Halo 3. I don't know
it's
which. Yeah,
it's going to be
Halo.
Halo 3.
If a Call of Duty makes our list, I will quit the podcast.
Sonic the Hedgehog was his number 2. Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Pokemon Gold and Silver, Pokemon Red and Blue, Super Mario Kart, Jurassic Park, Medal of Honor, and Crazy Taxi. This got a little bit weird at the end there.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
He just said Mario Kart to me at first, and I was like, "Oh, you're talking about Mario Kart 64, right?" Because if it was Mario Kart 64, that would have been on the list too. Because Derek had Mario Kart 64.
Damn it!
And he's like, "No, I never played that one. I played the Super Nintendo one." So, Jose's list: Ocarina of Time as his number 1, Final Fantasy VII, Pokemon Red and Blue, Street Fighter 2, Super Mario 64, Super Mario World, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Resident Evil 2, Chrono Trigger, and Doom.
So I've stated before, but Jose has the best taste out of all of us.
Yeah, Jose has like the most cultured list for sure.
Fair enough.
And then Adam's list: Ocarina of Time was his number 1, followed by Pokemon Red and Blue, Pokemon Stadium, Super Metroid, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Super Smash Bros., Sonic the Hedgehog, Pokemon Snap, and Star Fox 64.
Hey, I like what I like.
Yeah.
That is true.
No judgment.
So I'll read through
Unless
it
you
one
have
last
Sonic the
time.
Hedgehog on your list.
One last time. Here is the Game Sharks top 10 games of the 90s. Number 1, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Number 2, Super Metroid. Number 3, The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Number 4, Final Fantasy VII. Number 5, Pokemon Gold and Silver. Number 6, Pokemon Red and Blue. Number 7, Castlevania: Symphony of the Night. Number 8, Super Mario 64. Number 9, Sonic the Hedgehog. And number 10, Street Fighter 2. And number 11, Metal Gear Solid. There you go, Derek.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Can you make Half-Life number 12?
And number 12, Earthbound.
No, Sonic Adventures number 12. I'm sorry. There's nothing I
Number
can do about
12, Earthbound. Earthbound appeared on more people's lists, Jeff.
it. Yeah, but it got less points.
They got less
It only got
points.
9. All right.
Pixar didn't happen.
Let's wrap this up with some 90s video game trivia.
Let's go.
Let's go indeed. All right, boys. I think this is a pretty decent one. I think you're all going to score pretty highly.
Only 90s kids remember, Jeff.
Can't
Derek,
wait to get all of these wrong.
Derek might have the slight advantage being a child of the 90s more so than Adam and Andrew. Question number 1. Which console sold more units, the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System? Which one sold more units in its lifetime? Adam,
Got a 50-50 here.
you got a 50-50 here. Adam, you're going to go first. What sold more, the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo?
Oh, I feel like this is a trick question, but I'm still gonna bet on the Super Nintendo.
Okay. Derek?
Super Nintendo.
Andrew?
Super Nintendo.
It was the Super Nintendo.
I was gonna say
It
if it
sold
was Sega, I was gonna be really upset.
it sold almost double the units of the Genesis.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All right, question number 2. How many characters are in Super Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 64? How many playable characters are in Super Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 64? Adam, you're still counting on your fingers. I'm going to let you go until you're done counting. Andrew, I'm pretty sure knows it.
Okay, I've got a number in my head. I might be off, but
Okay, Derek, you're going to go first here, bud.
12?
Adam,
so I was gonna guess 16.
Andrew,
12.
it is 12.
I overshot.
You have Mario, Pikachu, Donkey Kong, Fox, Kirby, Captain Falcon, Luigi, Jigglypuff, Yoshi, Samus, Ness. Was that the last one?
Is there 16 in Melee?
There's
There's
25
20
in Melee.
Yeah.
25 in Melee?
Okay.
That's counting Sheik and Zelda as separate characters, though, right?
So 24.
It's either 25 or 26.
All right. Question number 3. How many AA batteries do you need for a Game Gear?
A what?
Is Andrew going to get a Game Gear, or is he just walking away from this question?
Or is he
No,
going
I'm
to get a
walking
bunch
away
of...
from the question. I don't know fucking any. What?
Have any of you even touched a Game
What
Gear
the
before?
fuck is a
I don't
Game
know what
Gear?
that is.
Game Gear is Sega's handheld
yeah.
like competitor to the Game Boy.
I got an advantage then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have a fucking advantage.
All right. Mr.
Can I look up a picture of one?
Not until after.
6.
All right. Adam?
That was gonna be my guess too. 6.
Derek?
8.
It's actually 6.
Damn it! Let's fucking go!
Yeah, it is 6.
I put 6 and I was like, no, it's 8. It was 4x4.
No, it's 6.
Damn.
Derek, have you ever held a Game Gear before?
Oh my god.
No, but I've obviously seen like several pictures.
Oh
Yeah, I had one time in an elective class in high school, some kid brought in a Game Gear, and I was like, what the fuck is that thing? He was playing Sonic the Hedgehog, and his batteries died in like 2 hours.
It's a Game Gear.
I can't believe that just happened.
All right,
That's my new favorite
question-
podcast moment.
Question number 4. Which 007 GoldenEye character was often banned in friend groups for having a significantly smaller character model? So this is like going back to the old days of 4-player couch co-op N64. There was a specific character in GoldenEye who was significantly smaller than everyone else. So when you were aiming, you wouldn't even be aiming at their head. They would be below your cursor. Unfair advantage. Who is that character, Adam?
I only James Bond character I know is James Bond. So
Derek?
Odd Job.
Andrew?
Odd job.
It is Odd Job.
never would have gotten that.
All right. The score,
Also acceptable was Danny DeVito.
the score is 2 for Adam, 3 for Derek, 4 for Andrew. We're going into the last question.
Shit.
Number 5. What was
Let's see if this plays out like that disc golf round, Derek.
You can't lose points here.
Oh.
Question number 5. What was the
Don't do
top
me like that.
the top selling game for the Sony PlayStation?
Ooh.
The number 1 selling game in the entire lifespan of the Sony PlayStation.
Ooh.
I'll give you all a second to think about it.
Just one?
Just one. What was the top game? Adam, you're gonna go first here, but unfortunately your answer doesn't matter. But
Yeah,
you could still flex on him.
Final Fantasy VII.
Derek, you're behind, so you're next.
Resident Evil 2.
Andrew,
I was gonna guess Final Fantasy VII.
it is Gran Turismo
Okay.
Yeah.
with 10.8 million copies. So no one
What
gets
was the
that
second
right.
highest?
I don't remember. Let me look. Top selling PS1 games. I think Final Fantasy VII was like 3rd on the list.
Really?
Nope. Final Fantasy VII was number 2.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
I was
At
close.
just over
Yeah,
10 million.
Close enough.
And then Gran Turismo 2, Final Fantasy 8, and Tekken 3. And the number 6 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yes. Top 10 game of the 90s.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Congratulations, Andrew. Tiebreaker question for fun. Heracross is my favorite Gen 2 Pokemon. What's his Pokedex number?
300.
You would have absolutely lost the
Say
tiebreaker.
like 3-4.
He's my favorite Gen 2 Pokemon.
I know. He's like 203.
Adam, guess.
186.
212.
Ooh, he's 214. That was really close.
Oh,
So I was gonna say Scizor originally. I was like, no, I like Heracross more than Scizor. Scizor is 212. So
What the fuck? Adam?
damn.
Adam knows his Pokedex like he knows.
That was a complete guess.
I know some of them.
Throw back to the first ever.
yeah, the Scyther
trivia.
episode, dude. Imagine if I had chose Scizor and you said 212. I would have.
Oh my God, can we-
Because you would have gotten Scyther and Scizor right.
Yeah, but
all right,
still, that I got within 2 was really impressive. I'm just gonna give myself that.
that was just pretty good.
There's one thing Adam knows. It's Pokemon.
All right, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Game Sharks podcast. Thank you very much for listening. You can watch us live on Twitch Thursdays nights, starting usually around 6 p.m. Eastern time. You can find our Twitch stream at Game Sharks Podcast. You can send us an email at gamesharkspodcast@yahoo.com. Tell us your favorite games of the 90s. Send us any questions that you want us to discuss. Send us any trivia that you have for the boys. Next week it's going to be about 2000s games. So if you have any 2000s games trivia, send it our way. And then you can find our website, thegamesharks.com. You can check out my review for Bravely Default 2 that just went up today. Go see what I thought about it. I talked about it a bunch on the podcast, but I gave it a rating, and I go really in depth about what I liked or didn't like about that game. So go check that out on thegamesharks.com. But gentlemen, with that, we are Finn.